Hey, Lions Nation! We're back with another exclusive video bringing you all the latest news about our beloved Detroit Lions. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss anything about the team. Now, let's get into the news. It began as a whisper stretching across the damp corridors of Detroit's practice facility, a murmur that started with no clear source yet grew heavy enough to press against every wall. And those who walked through the building felt it before they understood it, an unspoken shift in the atmosphere, as though something unseen had slipped in during the night and settled itself between the players, the staff, the coaches, transforming familiar spaces into unsettling landscapes where glances lingered too long and the slightest noise made heads turn too sharply, because everyone sensed that an emotional storm was building around Aidan Hutchinson, even though no one could yet identify the trigger. Although certain players insisted they had heard fragments of a private exchange involving SHEDEUR Sanders, a bold comment delivered with the kind of confidence young quarterbacks carry when they believe the future belongs entirely to them. And that confidence, when filtered through pride, pressure, ambition, and the constant need to prove oneself, can easily become combustible, especially when aimed at a defender whose identity is forged in struggle, expectation, and the weight of an entire city that sees him as more than a player, almost a symbol, almost a force meant to carry them into eras they had long been denied. And as the rumor spread, if rumor was even the right word for something so electric, people began weaving stories in the shadows, connecting dots that may or may not have existed. But no one could escape the sense that something deeply personal had been said, something piercing enough to disturb Hutchinson's equilibrium, a phrase that replayed behind his eyes with the persistence of a haunting, because several eyewitnesses claimed that late at night, long after teammates had left the field, Aidan remained alone in the weight room, moving with a cold precision that felt less like training and more like preparing for a reckoning, pacing with a rhythm that suggested he was wrestling with a truth he refused to accept, and the silence around him was frightening, a silence so thick it seemed to swallow sound. And when one staff member passed by the doorway, he heard Aidan muttering a name, not loudly, not clearly, but unmistakably. SHEDEUR, and that single utterance, repeated with an intensity that suggested obsession rather than anger, ignited a chain reaction that unsettled even the most composed veterans on the roster, because they recognized the look in his eyes during practice sessions, a look that wasn't rage but something deeper, something coiled, something sharpening itself in the dark, and the coaches attempted to address it indirectly by altering routines, adjusting drills, shortening certain sessions, yet nothing diluted the aura of looming confrontation radiating from him, an aura that became even stronger once the true phrase, the one that had reached him through a private channel, surfaced through unofficial whispers, a bold and dismissive prediction spoken by SHEDEUR with the casual arrogance of a rising star proclaiming his own trajectory, a comment not meant for public ears yet potent enough to sting any established player, but devastating when heard by a man whose identity thrives on proving doubters wrong, and the phrase, spoken like a judgment carved into stone, echoed with brutal clarity. He won't matter in the new era, a collection of words that struck Aidan too precisely to be brushed aside as meaningless trash talk, because beneath those 6 words was an implication that clawed at something primal in him, the fear that haunts every athlete late at night, the fear of irrelevance. Before we move on, take a second to drop a like and subscribe. That way, you'll stay up to date with every exclusive Lions update, and you'll even have a chance to win an official Detroit Lions jersey. Let's keep going. Fear of being overshadowed, the fear of watching the world move on without you, and Aidan, even with all his success, carried that fear quietly, tucked beneath layers of discipline and performance. So when SHEDEUR unknowingly ripped the wound open, the effect was immediate and suffocating, transforming what could have been a passing irritation into a catalyst for obsession. And the Lions facility sensed the shift as though the very air had thickened, making every meeting feel tense, every drill feel like preparation for a battle not yet scheduled, and players began exchanging uneasy glances, noticing the intensity in Aidan's movements, the relentless way he pushed himself with no sign of fatigue, striking sleds with such force that equipment managers whispered about dents appearing overnight, while analysts and reporters, always hungry for controversy, attempted to investigate the tension only to find themselves met by cold stares, brief answers, and the unsettling sensation that the truth pulsing beneath the surface was far darker and far more personal than any headline could capture. And as theories multiplied, as fans argued online and insiders tried to form coherent narratives, the truth remained buried within Aiden's relentless focus, a truth that no amount of denial could conceal, because what had awakened inside him was not simple competitiveness but a vow, a silent declaration that he would not allow a prophecy spoken by a young, ambitious quarterback to define his fate. And this vow manifested in eerie ways that unsettled even the most stoic teammates, from late-night film sessions where he stared at footage long after his eyes should have burned with exhaustion, to moments during walkthroughs when he repeated Shedeur's phrase under his breath with a tone so controlled it felt dangerous. And the weight of that phrase began affecting the entire team, creating an invisible pressure that coaches could not alleviate, because everyone understood that when Detroit eventually faced SHEDEUR Sanders, whether this season or the next, the game would not be a simple clash of talent, but a collision of wills, a confrontation born not from rivalry, but from a challenge to identity itself. And this understanding deepened when, during a closed-door team meeting, Aiden stood without warning, the room falling silent as players felt an inexplicable chill pass through them. And he spoke with a controlled intensity that silenced even the assistant coaches, saying, "He thinks I won't matter. He thinks he defines what comes next, so let him come, and let him learn." And the words, delivered with such unwavering conviction, filled the room with a sense of inevitability, as if a path had been chosen not by strategy or preparation, but by something older, something carved into destiny. And afterward, players described leaving the meeting with the sensation that they had witnessed the birth of a force rather than the expression of frustration, because Aiden Hutchinson seemed less like a man fueled by anger and more like an entity forged by purpose, and the city itself appeared to respond to this transformation, with fans reporting odd chills near murals of the team, claiming that Aiden's painted eyes followed them, and reporters describing strange flickers in the lights during press conferences, as though an unseen energy pulsed around the facility, building toward an inevitable moment when Hutchinson and Shedeur would stand across from each other beneath blinding stadium lights, and the phrase that started everything would echo silently between them. And although no one could predict how the confrontation would unfold, everyone, from players to fans to analysts, felt the same eerie certainty. When that moment finally comes, when their eyes lock, when the prophecy is challenged, something monumental will unfold, something that may elevate Detroit or shatter it, because Aiden Hutchinson is no longer fighting for stats or recognition or even pride. He is fighting to rewrite a sentence spoken in arrogance yet carved into the deepest part of his psyche, and he will not allow the world to move into a new era without proving that he still stands as its storm. We bring you the latest Lions news every single day, so make sure you're subscribed, hit that like button, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing. And of course, drop a comment below with your thoughts on today's news. Your voice makes a difference for Lions Nation. See you in the next video.